Hello and welcome to BW People's HR Voices. HR Voices is a special show where we prioritize receptiveness and listening. We want to track the top trends and topics that abound in the HR landscape and gather multiple perspectives of what is happening from thought leaders and opinion makers and present you a holistic view of what's happening in the industry. Right now, we're interested in understanding about enriching employee experience. Now, employee well-being and experiences is more than a catch-all term. It's about having employees feel more than physically, mentally, and emotionally safe. It's about having them feel a sense of achievement, having them feel a sense of safety, a sense of contributing to the larger picture, and having a conducive work atmosphere that caters to all of the above. And on that context, I warmly welcome Mr. Shrikant Lonikar, who is the CHRO and Director of Pernod Ricard India. Mr. Lonikar has 35 years of seasoned experience as an HR leader in transforming the HR landscape, in developing a work culture, building processes, providing leadership insights to CEOs. And most of all, I personally feel he has a very calm and composed personality that always gives a very thought-provoking perspective to things. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Janani. Thanks to you. Thanks to BW team. Really honored to be here, and thank you for that generous introduction.
So I think we'll jump right into the topic, decoding employee experience and how to enrich it in a time when the pandemic is sending shockwaves once again with another wave. So firstly, what are the different employee experience strategies or policy decisions that you have taken at Pernod Ricard so that we can get a sense of what Pernod Ricard is doing?
Pernod Ricard's purpose of business, Janani, is we are in the business of creating joy. Our brands and products are supposed to make people happy by bringing them together in a convivial moment. If that has to happen, then our strategy must support that. So we have a very strong business strategy, and as far as the people part of the business is concerned, we have broken it into two. So one is a talent strategy, which is like how will you hire, develop, train your people, and second is the HR strategy. How will HR manage itself to support the business? So we have a very clear definition of how do we enable the business and talent to succeed and excel in the company. So me and my team, we first build our own strong capabilities in HR, and then we are here to develop a merit-based culture in the organization. We make aggressive commitments on talent to the company, and we believe we have to win consistently. So that is the overarching strategy. When it comes to the current situation, I think it is aptly fitting because, there are four pillars of this strategy. Mm-hmm. One, which is core to my heart, is about happiness of people. Mm-hmm. Happy people are more engaged people are more productive. That's the business case. So we have this Ananda program that has been launched to engage people, to make them happy as many hours of the day as they can, which this program focuses on an employee as a 360 degree, not as a human being, not only as the 10, 12 hours of the role that they play as employee. And there are a variety of activities that happen there. Second, we promote this merit and we tell our people that be the best in what you do. So when we select people, when we groom them, when we reward them, we always target for excellence in that. Third aspect, which is again a human aspect of the role of people, is about the kindness that people bring. And we are by default very kind people as human beings. So how do we really give an outlet to that? So we have a very robust program of our CSR, where our employees under the Employee Volunteering Program, or EVP as we call it, they participate in these activities and they contribute to the community, joining hands with the company's program. And the last and most important thing that we have is the readiness of our people. Right. Incidentally, and good part is, the people don't leave Pernod Ricard. So attrition is very low in our company. So when they stay with us, they make a commitment. Now we have to commit to them that we will give you growth in the company. That's where this readiness comes, that our whole talent development program is anchored on this philosophy that people must be ready for the next. So that is what we are currently doing. And there is nothing that is different than what we have been doing in the past, except that the challenges of pandemic, lockdown, and the isolation that people are feeling. There's a humongous amount of work that we have done as a team in the company.
Right. Queuing in the pandemic and how it has upended everything that we knew about employee experience. Suddenly, people are not at their workplace anymore. They're away from their superiors, away from the work environments, away from their colleagues. So this fosters a sense of isolation, like you pointed out. So what are the listening tools or the listening architecture that an organization should focus on? As an HR leader of 35 years of experience, I want to understand it's not a one-day commitment. Like you said, it's a policy thing that has to happen over time. So what listening devices and listening architecture do you think every organization should prioritize on?
This in the structure and culture of the company. Both these things must be developed to help the employees in the company. First and foremost on structure, my belief is we have to break the hierarchy. Leaders and managers of the employees must believe that they have been given a role to bring sanity to the work here and to assign accountability.
Right.
You are not owners. You are not actually driving people. You are helping them to succeed, and that's how business succeeds.
Right.
Second and most important thing is that the leaders and organization must build an ability to go to the source. Where is the information? And that is where you will get the right information. Otherwise, it gets into Chinese whispers and it gets filtered. And higher the position you are sitting in, your ability to listen to the real things in life becomes weak.
Right.
And that's where the connected point that I believe is that, an organization must be de-layered. Companies that have, managers after managers after managers, they face this challenge that they are not able to listen properly. Employees, I think, most important thing is, you have to empower the employees. There should be a candor in the system. People must believe that we can commit mistakes. We can call a spade a spade. In fact, that behavior should be encouraged in the organization. And that is where the compassionate listening by the leaders, understanding empathetically why employees are saying what they are saying today, without judging what is right and wrong. And if you think it is wrong, then you give a right perspective to them.
Right.
And then many of us, we consistently keep doing these surveys and seek feedback from the employees, which is a good thing to listen. What is important is that when you do the survey or get a feedback, do you act on that feedback? And that is the litmus test. Otherwise, you have only information and you're not doing anything about it. And over a period, then people start just ticking the box. They never tell you the truth. And that's very important that anytime you do a survey, make sure you act on that. And then there are grievances of people that they bring to you. It has to be resolved quickly. I used to work in the factories in unions and industrial relations. And I can tell you from my experience that a grievance of a union member, you have no choice to sleep over it one night. You have to resolve it then and there. Otherwise, there will be a strong consequence, which is not something good for the company. Right. And the people who are handling this situation, they will be able to relate with what I'm saying, that you have to resolve it before you go home. But same kind of urgency and importance is not attached to rest of the people in the organization. So we do this, I say is our survey internally. We do it every couple of years.
Okay.
And we get very good feedback from our employees. We go outside like Great Place to Work and try to benchmark what other companies are doing, what our employees feel as a company we are doing as a culture. So there are multiple ways, but this is a key part. And thanks for asking that question.
Right. So, like you said about listening to people and having them answer with candor. And I think a lot of this candor also stems from informal channels sometimes when you feel like on social media, perhaps you can say what you want to on companies' intranet websites. So I want to take this to social media now. With HR tech advancing, social media has become a very important factor of how an organization maintains its wellness program. Social media also becomes this platform where it becomes a part of the brand image and the identity. And to an outsider, if I have to understand Pernod Ricard, perhaps I would also look into the social media and how people are understanding that. So my question to you is, how do we harness the power of social media to aid the wellness program? How, as a leader, what do you distill from social media interactions, or how do you mediate that to add more value to making the programs better, wellness programs better?
See, two things generally. One is, a brand is a perception, and employer brand is a perception. So how people relate with your organization, your employees and external people, it will depend on what their perception and, of course, for internal people, experience has been.
Right.
We encourage our employees to have a strong presence on social media. Okay,
Okay.
it is opened on all the tools that they use, with be it laptop or desktops or mobile phones. So our system allows them to do that. We encourage it. They are actually our brand ambassadors, and you will see that they post videos, talk good things about the company on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Wherever you go, you will find Pernod Ricard employees present there, and they do it on their own volition. So this is something encouraged in the company.
Right.
Second and most important thing is our internal platform, which is a technology platform. And that is where people find their career opportunities. They are able to chit chat, interact with each other. Employees can provide feedback to each other, to their managers, to any senior person in the company through the tool that we have in the company. We launched last year a program called D Passport. D stands for digital,
Okay.
to improve the literacy of people on the digital platforms. So we are now training our people and certifying them that bare minimum everybody must understand what is this digital and social media. So
Right.
that program is really catching up. Everybody is loving it in the company. And on the other side, on Consumer Connect, we got a strong 3 million community of consumers.
Okay.
We connect through social media, and they help our marketing, sales, trade marketing people to connect with the consumers, understand what's happening in the minds of the people. That makes our employees very happy.
Right.
It's a power. Social media is a power. We have to be aware of that.
So, trying to understand the chatting option that you were saying. So, is it where the people who are willing to be a part of the organization can communicate with those with the organization, or is it the consumer platform?
No, both. Consumers can connect with us on multiple platforms, as well as, if you want to work for Pernod Ricard, you have multiple options to come to us. This internal platform that I'm saying, for example, all our vacant positions are available there. Anybody can view that. Our headhunters can do that. Candidates can do that.
Right.
You apply to Pernod Ricard, and if you're lucky, you may be hired.
Right. So, talking about living through the pandemic, and now that we have hybrid work culture becoming a norm, and it becomes important to put it into perspective what is happening around us. India is looking at another lockdown, perhaps. We're looking at curfews in all major metros, and this can increase anxiety levels. This can, for some people, it amounts to a little bit of personal tragedy. So there is a lot of confusion that employees can experience. So channeling this in a workspace can lead to a sense of detachment because there is how an individual works, and then their personal life, and then their personality. So how can an organization cater to all the three and keep this sense of detachment away as we work in silos and for the near future in a hybrid work environment?
Yeah, I think this is the basic motivation of a human being in a social environment. Do I belong to this place, And this detachment, what you are saying rightly, because of this physical isolation that has happened, it leads to out of sight, out of mind kind of a syndrome, which is where we have to be very careful. So some of the things that we do at Pernod Ricard, we develop cross-functional forums where each manager is responsible for their team, and they are frequently connecting with their teams. They do coffee sessions. We organize leader speak, like all our directors, they spoke to the employees. I do a program called Coffee with Srikanth, where I invite leaders and talk to our employees. We do pulse surveys. But these cross-functional teams help people to engage with each other. That is very important. And then we have this program called Listen, which is our approach to developing people, where people learn, innovate, support, transform, energize, and they use next generation tools to do all that, And this collaborative working culture, if it has been there in the organization, fortunately we had it, but that has to be developed at this time with more rigor, which is, I can tell you, one of the most difficult tasks of any leader, but it is important thing. If ignored, it can cost you in a big way, What we did also was, as soon as we got into the lockdown, first thing we did was we did a training program for all our people managers.
Okay.
telling them how do you manage in the remote. And when you manage people in the remote, what is it that you should be doing and what are the things you should refrain from so that you do not break down the neck of the people. So there has to be optimum balance of how much you will be in touch with people and how much you will leave the space to the people to do that, So there are a variety of things that are possible. HR people particularly and the CEOs, they have to keep their mind on this aspect that it is about human beings and they have emotions and this can be hurtful to them. The moment we are aware, solutions are not very difficult.
Right. So, and then I think I want to end this on a happier note, and I want to understand the key program Ananda, like you mentioned. I want to turn this on and ask you, what are some things that bring you Ananda? Like in your workspace, what are some little things that you do and you try to foster to keep that sense of burnout going away from? Like, as we discussed already, working home can be a feeling of isolation. So, what are the little things you do for Ananda in your workplace?
See, stress in any system, you call it burnout or whatever name,
Mm,
it happens only when you are not enjoying what you are doing.
right.
Okay. And the moment you enjoy, like you look at a child going to a cricket field with the kit, they know that they will have to sweat, run, and get tired, But the excitement, because they are enjoying what they are doing, they don't worry about feeling tired or getting injured on the field. They enjoy that. Now, come back to the business organization. Why would people feel stressed if they are enjoying what they are doing? And this is the responsibility also of the organization that you have to match people to the role and the person who is in that role. This matching is very important. Not every time it is possible, but our attempt should be that. Second and most important, like this Daniel Siegel, he says brain is a social organ. What it means is that relationships, mind and brain, they have to be connected. And this is where the human factor comes in again in the organization. So Ananda helps people to stay connected with each other. Ananda not only focuses, as I said, on the employee role, but the families of people are engaged in this. So now I'm sitting at home, I'm participating in, for example, some kind of a training that is happening on Ananda for, say, we had one program called Madhubani Drawings. So
Right.
me, my wife and daughter, three of us, we sat and we got ourselves trained in that. So now you're doing it together and then everybody else is doing with you. That's a social activity. Because your mental world is a challenging place, Janani. The biggest challenge is that, there are thoughts and there are feelings and there are memories and there are dreams and there are hopes, there are wishes. But on the other side also there are sorrows, fears, nightmares, regrets, there's a sense of isolation and all these things. As long as these fears and negative thoughts and feelings are in short term, it is easy. But like this lockdown has got extended and second time it is coming back, these are likely to be extended in the minds of people. And this long-term thing is going to be hurtful. That's where Ananda gets into and helps people to stay happier larger periods of time in their life. Like I was talking about the work people were doing. It got overwhelming. And every company, I talk to CHROs in other companies, CEOs, they say exactly the same thing that our people are working day and night, 12 hours, 14 hours, midnight, Sunday, Saturday. There is no limit to that. Because of this whole thing of detachment that I'm present here, please recognize me. This is a feeling managers want to force people to bring and to get this report done, this kind of review to be done, presentation, which is not adding value to the business in my sense, but people are doing that.
Right.
So when we did a pulse survey asking people that we did so much for your health and safety, for your family, do you think you are happy today? So more than 90% people said that we are happy, but work-life balance and personal life has gone for a toss.
Right.
And that is where we launched a new project called Project Reboot. And this project defined that the working hours will be strict 9 to 6 in the evening. And between that, 12:30 to 2 p.m. will be your lunch time.
Got
Because
it.
many of us have to cook also our lunch. You can go to cafeteria like in the office.
Right.
So you get that time. And what happens before 9, after 6 and 12:30 to 2? No calls, no meetings, no mails. This is your time. Okay, you want to work, you can work. So there is a delay delivery option in MS Outlook. You can put delay delivery, but before 2 p.m., the mail should not go from your outbox.
Thank you, Mr. Lonika. Thank you so much. I think today we learned a lesson about how to distill that happiness and keep your spirits high. And for employers listening in on this, I think the key takeaway is to break the hierarchy in your organization and be more receptive to your employees. And for employees, learn to have that work-life balance, set particular times for your activities, have a little me time, and most of all, be a happy worker, because a happy worker, like Mr. Lonika said, is a productive worker. So thank you so very much, sir. Thank you. And we hope to have another session with you soon. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you, Janani. Thank you, Janani. Really appreciate that. And thanks for having me again.